going live. Okay, well, it's not. Oh, echo. Anyways, it's quite 10 o'clock yet, but I got a good echo in this corner. Anyways, it's not quite 10 o'clock yet, but I'll be doing a live reading soon, as I did all last week. And I took a break for the 4th, but I'm reading from my novel. I got good lighting over here. From my novel, The Magic Paintbrush. The story about a boy trapped in a painting. And we're on chapter 6. I'll talk about that in a minute. But tomorrow is the anniversary of the day July 7th, 2012, when I began my writing career, or when I decided to become a writer. And it was a long, grueling path. Wow, there was so much I didn't know and that I learned along the way. So yeah, I wrote that summer. I decided to become a writer. I wrote 30 short stories. I don't know, something like that. But since then, I've written like 90 to 100 short stories. I can't say they're all very good, but it taught me how to write. Anyways, so I thought I'd share a little bit of my writing journey. I'm author of the books of 9 and 10 Penance, for those of you that have been listening. And all the books came from, they were all started off as short stories. From a series, the series of 7. It was a short story collection series that I was writing back then. And that's where all the books came from. So let's see, the lighting's terrible here, but you can kind of see it. There we go. I brought with book 2, The Greatest Storm, the tale of the story of Allison White and Stephen Blackman. And that's book 2. And that encompasses there were 7 short stories in that short story collection. And all the short stories, at least a part of it, made it into this book. And it was like a lot of slapstick humor, which I really enjoyed doing. I had a lot of fun with this book. And then I'll be reading from my novel here soon. And then this one was from the 3rd or 4th short story collection I wrote. And it's got bits and pieces of that in this novel. But that was my most challenging book to write, or the one I really championed. And that's when by the 3rd novel, I knew, like, I'm gonna keep doing this. And I'm working on a new book right now. But yeah, The Tale of Yelizelsky and the Unicorn. That was fun. Anyways, yeah, I kept writing. For those of you tuning in, I'll be reading from this novel, The Magic Paintbrush, about a boy trapped in a painting. And I've got it all up on my channel. The other chapters that I've read, and we're on chapter 6 now. So I guess I'll get into it. So where I left off, let's see, at the park here. Could not find a better spot than the park to read. Let's see, where did I leave off? Oh yeah, Fragonard had uncovered the magic paintbrush, and he was learning how to paint. And so now, it's the story's about a boy trapped in a painting who recounts his tale over 500 years later. And now in this chapter, Cradling Wheat, we go back to present day. And he is there with the other boy who's listening to his story. And I guess I'll start into it, and then maybe I'll talk about my writing journey after I'm done reading the chapter. So, Aidan Fragonard, that's the name of the main character. And he says to Stefan Vermeer, "Stefan, help! There's this dreadful little fly buzzing around my face, causing my nose to itch. If you wouldn't mind, could you brush it away and swat it for me? I would be forever grateful and in your debt. Keep in mind, he's a painting. Where? I don't see anything. I think you're imagining things. Look, it just flew over there. Hurry, I can still hear its wings chattering about down the hallway like a loud thumping tale of the bitter northeasterly winds. Hold on, I'll get it. Fragonard clenched his fist tight. What a scoundrel the dirty little fly is. You would be my hero if you did. Stefan picked up a newspaper someone left in the museum, rolled it up, and swatted the fly in one gallant blow. He then presented it before Fragonard. Oh, eek! Don't show it to me. Take it away at once. Stefan shuffled the newspaper toward him and said, Don't tell me you're scared of one little fly. Let's see here. Fragonard veered back, his nose in a twist. No, it's not that. You try living in a painting. It's incredibly difficult to maintain oneself in this condition. I can't believe it would be that hard. You've got a light on all night and no one to bother you. You'd think it would be easy, but if it isn't something as simple as a fly, when the dust settles, all seems to go wrong. Now please, remove this ghastly thing from my sight before I become ill. Okay, I'll throw it away. Stefan threw the fly away, and then he sat back down on the bench. So, Stefan, earlier, when we met, you said you lost the inspiration to paint. I remember you saying something about how your father thinks it's a waste of time. He says I should grow up and put the brushes away, but all I've ever wanted to do since I can remember is paint and create art. You know, I never had a chance to grow up, only to grow old. So why does he think choosing a path as an artist is childish? I was told it's not a real profession. He says I'll end up penniless and living on the streets because I won't make any money doing what I love. You were told this? I've known a few artists throughout the years who would easily argue otherwise. Stefan leaned forward and said, Really? Like who? Take, for instance, the acclaimed painter Jean-Francois Milly. You knew him personally? Well, no, not personally, although I do believe I met him in passing once as he was meandering his way through the halls of this museum. I'm sure if we had the chance to chat, it would have been enlightening. So, how did he become an artist? He started out as a field hand on his father's farm. Hard work was something he knew well by the time he became of age. The skills he learned as a child led to his path to becoming an artist. At the party I was attending, some pretty big numbers were being tossed around for his works of art. By the way, Millet inspired Van Gogh. It couldn't have been easy starting out as a farmer. I'll bet it took him forever to achieve his dreams. That painting you took down earlier, it's called The Gleaners. One of my favorite pieces by the man. It's sat across from me for years. The three women are going through a field and picking up what's left after harvest. Their work has only just begun, but I bet they'll have that field cleared before you know it. How am I going to clear a field? It's about the efforts you put forth, not the work that you do. You have to start somewhere, and you very well can't get anywhere if you feel you are going nowhere. So what are you going to do? I don't know yet. I want my father to be proud of me, but he's right. Being an artist isn't practical. So this is what's really bothering you, practicality. You're worried you won't amount to anything like Thomas Hart Benton. Who's Thomas Hart Benton? He was a regionalist who sought to bring to life the common man on the canvas. His father as well didn't see how being an artist was practical. Of course, he was a well-to-do aristocrat. I doubt he would have understood. Despite his struggles with his father, he went on to become one of the greatest muralists to ever live. That's them. I'm not anyone special, and I haven't accomplished anything great. Our dreams are but a small, quiet breath of air had in our lives, whispered once and then forgotten by the time we try to speak of them aloud. Another voice from another time. What I'm trying to say is you may have chosen a different path than your fathers, but that doesn't mean it is of less value and not worth pursuing. I guess I'll think it over. Good, you do that. I'll never forget Benton's painting, Cradling Wheat. What a wonderful achievement. Had he given up, the world would never know. There is, however, one thing I never understood about the piece that hung next to it. What was that mechanical thing they kept stuffing full of crops? Fragonard. I don't even know what to say about that. In the meantime, why don't you fetch another painting for me to view as I continue with my story? I could find a landscape or a portrait. Not another portrait? Surprise me with something from the other room. I think that's where they keep the abstract art, though I can't be sure. Rarely do I get a chance to see what they have in there. Okay, I'll go see what I can find. Stefan wandered into the other room. He looked over the paintings, searching for one he thought Fragonard would like. There was one that had an assortment of brightly dotted colors meticulously placed on the canvas. He lifted it up and brought it back to him. Then he leaned the painting against the wall. Fragonard tried focusing in. There's something wrong with this painting. It appears to be pixelated. Could you bring it a little closer? Here, Fragonard. Let me wipe the dust from your eyes. Thank you. It's been a while since I've had a good dusting. Stefan lifted himself up on his toes and carefully wiped the dust over Fragonard's eyes with his sleeve. He then stepped back and said, There, now have a look. What do we have here? There, now have a look. What do we have here? The use of color is absolutely stunning. No, alarmingly beautiful. Such vibrancy and enriched tone. Who painted this? I must know. You've never heard of this artist? It's called Le Grand Géant by Georges Seurat. Oh, that's the painting they keep talking about. Now that I've had a chance to view it for myself personally, I must say it's not abstract at all. I'm glad you like it. So can I hear the rest of your story now? Sorry, wrong voice. Of course, have a seat and I'll continue with the rest of my story. But before I do, I'll leave you with a thought. My father used to say this to me all the time. You can work hard throughout the summer months tending to the fields and the chores. But if you don't harvest your crops at the end of the season, then you will starve in the winter. Trust me, I know. Stefan sat back down on the bench with 2 fingers and a thumb pressed against the sides of his chin and continued to listen to his story. Where did I leave off? Oh yes, I remember now. And that's the end of the chapter, and then the next chapter is The King's New Castle. And I will read that tomorrow night. But that's the story. That's what I've got tonight from my novel, The Magic Paintbrush, about a boy trapped in a painting. And anyways, fun fact, the real Vermeer, I think there's like 32 works of art attributed to him, and he was largely forgotten throughout art history. They say he was a Dutch master, but the reality is, and I don't think people understood his work, and if you've seen a Vermeer painting, it's absolutely gorgeous. But for many centuries, they used him as an example in art history books of what not to do in painting. And I thought that's kind of why I chose Vermeer as one of the characters, at least for the character of Stefan Vermeer, the boy who's listening to the story. Because here is Vermeer, in a sense, art history brushed him off, and you could say the inspiration of hope had waned. But of course now we all know the name Vermeer, and we can greatly respect and admire his paintings. Yeah. So anyways, tomorrow's the anniversary of my writing journey. Pretty proud of that. You can check out The Magic Paintbrush on my channel, the chapter readings. I'll be doing it tomorrow again. Um, the Kindle version is, for that one and The Greatest Storm, the romantic comedies, up on Amazon for $2.99, which I think is a pretty fair deal. And you can check those two books out on there if you want, and I'd appreciate it. I'm an unknown author, but I've worked very hard at this craft for many, many years. And if you are a writer, I've got writing advice on there, unhinged writing advice, because I cannot stand the internet gurus online. That's one thing I've learned, that I'll grab these books. The progression of these 3 novels. So the first book, and I don't know if you can see it, the first book, The Magic Paintbrush, I learned how to write with that one. You can't really see it. And I followed a lot of bad advice from agents and editors, and so I had to fix it. It took a long time to get there. I started listening to other writers, and then by The Greatest Storm, I wish I could get a better view of this. By The Greatest Storm, the second book, I really, really started to ignore all the advice and went with what I thought you, the reader, would enjoy, rather than so much what the industry thought you might like. And then by the third book, The Tale of Ulizelski and the Unicorn, all bets were off. I had relearned these skills, all in my own manner, the way I thought they ought to be. And so from then on, from this book on, I just said to myself, I'm going to write the way I want to write. And forget everyone else. God, I've dealt with over the years, a lot of really bad editors, self-assured editors. So, yeah, don't give up hope. There are a lot of bad editors out there, but there's a few good ones. You just got to find someone that will champion your work and believe in it. Yeah, author of the books of 9 and 10 Penance. I like to call it this young adult artistic fantasy series. There you have it. And so, I don't know, I wanted each book to be uniquely different, yet they're all intertwined. If you were around for The Island of Lost Dreams, all the books are intertwined somehow. But I'd rather have the reader figure that out for themselves than me just tell you. I've never enjoyed reading full-on series very much, where it's just the same characters over and over again, or the same plot line, just rehashed, every 3 books. So this was my way to do what I want. And the covers too, I really like the covers. You saw them. A lot of novice. It just feels like the industry's ran, and I've gone to a lot of these conventions and stuff. It feels like the industry's run by novice writers or wannabe writers. And they would tell me everything I'm doing with my covers is wrong. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys are just making covers that look like the last guy's cover for their book. So I did all the art for my covers, and I made them the way I wanted to make them, rather than just regurgitate the same things over and over and over and over. But like I said, I just learned to do it my own way. So thanks for tuning in tonight. I wish I could think of more to ramble on about, but I had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun reading these chapters, and I hope you'll go to my channel and listen to a few more of those books. All right, well, have a good night. Oh, I do exist.